Okay. Okay, then I'll start. So, before we move further, let me ask you one question. Hope any of you can answer this. Like, what is the difference between the normal table and temporary table? Just to make sure, like, is it clear or not? Hello. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. Actually, the temporary table, which means like the data will not be inserted into the actual table until the end of transaction. Like, say, suppose I have in the last session I've used the temporary table in XML port. Here, if you see this particular example, so when I store the data in this particular table and when I run this, so until I finish this particular processing, when the XML port is closed, so the data will be deleted from the temporary table. So when it comes to the actual table, it will store and we can retrieve the data whenever it is required. Like if you see here, one of you have asked whether we can see the data from the temporary table. Like it cannot be seen from the object designer, but here, as I said, we can use the message and do the repeat until. Like this particular code unit, what I'll do, if you look at the triggers here, so here we have on post XML port, so this will be executed after the data is loaded from the XML file. So this will be the last trigger that will be executed before we close the XML port. So here what we can do, here we have this employee as temporary table, right? So I'll use this particular EMP as a reference to find the value. So now I'm in on post XML port trigger. So here what I do, emp dot find, repeat until next equal to 0. So here I'm trying to see the data that got stored in the temporary table. Like here I use the, so now when I run this, and when I try to import the file, so if you look at this file, it has 3 records. So here the employee is having 3 records. So now I should see, when I try to import, I should see this 3 record data here. Okay, so here this way we can see the data from the temporary table. So basically we use this when we do the coding, like we need some instead of fetching it from the actual table, we will insert this into the temporary table and we do some processing, and then it will be deleted after the transaction. So to improve the performance, we use the temporary tables here. Okay, so this is important to know, so that's why I just want to make sure to repeat it one more time. Now until now we have seen how to export and import the data from a single table. Like here I have been using the a single table. Let's see how we can use different tables to different tables, and how we can export the data from these tables. So let me create a new XML port. So I select XML and then I click on new, and here I name the first node as root, and now I'm creating a new element with name sales header, and I map this to table, and then I select. You can select this with the lookup, or maybe we can write the name or the number if we know it. So I have selected sales header. So as I said, we have to indent this to the root node. So I click on the right arrow here down. So now I list all the fields, some of the fields from the sales header, like document type, and I map this to field, and then I select some of the fields, like here we have document type. Then I create a new element with name number, and I map this to the field, and here I'm mapping it to the fields in the table. So I'll take some more fields from the sales header, like customer number, and I map it to the field, and then I select the cell to customer number and posting date. Just I'll take this field. So now I have listed some of the fields from the sales header. So as I said, all the fields should be indented to the table element. So here what I'm going to do, I'll select all the fields and then I indent this to the table element. So now let me save this with 50,005, and yeah, yeah. If you see here, yeah, if you see this here, we can have shift alt and right, we can do that. Okay, yeah. uh, Now 50,005, export sales data. I think I've already created. Okay, so now I have taken one table. Now I'm going to use sales line. So let me create a new element with name sales line, and I map this to a table, and I type here the sales line table name. Now I'm going to list the fields in the sales line table, like the same. Will use some fields like document type, and here I map this to the field, and then I select. Here we can see all the tables that we use in the XML port. So now I'm going to map this to the corresponding fields. Now let me see what all fields we have here. So here we have document number. So now document number, just to know the fields, I'm just checking the fields here. So here we use cell to customer number, and line number. Just for a better example, I'm taking some more fields here, like to differentiate the records. So here I take element with name type, and I map this to type, and one more we'll take with name element of number, and then field here, and then I map this to the number. Okay, so I have listed some of the fields from the sales line. So here we should again indent these particular elements to the sales line table here. So now I'll just save this. So here when we use two different tables, we should give the relation between these two tables, like how this particular sales line is related to the header. So now I click on the table root element sales line, and then I click on the properties here, And if you see here, we'll have a property called link table. So here we have to define which table we have to link this particular sales line. So then I'll choose sales header here. So now what it does, it is linked, it is related with this particular sales header. So now we have to define what fields we have to map between these two. So now I'll go to the properties and we have link fields here. So now if you click here, so here we can map the fields between two tables. What are the common fields that are uh, that makes the relation? Like here we have document type, and I'm choosing here document type in the sales line. So here I'm using the document, this is the sales line, and here this is the sales header. So I'm using, so what I did here, I'm just mapping the document type and number between the fields, between the tables. So now I'll just close this, and before I run this, let me show you, like here in NAV we have sales orders, sales code, blanket or sales orders, and sales invoice. So these all this all belongs to a same table. Like they have differentiated with different names, but when you see the backend table, it will be a sales header. So you can see this way, like here I have a sales order, and now if you, so when you can see the help, and you can go to the about this page. So here you can see the table that it is mapped to. So now here we have sales header. So let me close this. So like this all sales order, sales codes, all are linked to sales header table. So I want to just import the sales order from this particular table. So before I do that, I have to set a property saying that I have I I only want sales orders. So here we have a property. So I just, I'm on the sales header element, and now I click on the property. So here we have source table view. So what we can do here, we can set the table filter here. Like here, as I said, we have a document type in the sales header that defines what type of document it is. Like here we have few things like constant and filter. So now I'm using, if we have a fixed value, then we'll use constant. So if you have something called multiple values, then you can use filter here. So for now I'm using constant, and I set the value as order here. Now I save this. let let me run this. So before we run, let me see what all here we have in the sales orders. We have this many order. So now when I run this, so the direction I have not set, so we can select here. So and then I export this. So if you look at this structure, so here we have one sales order, record in the sales header, like 1001, and it has two different lines. Now let us see how it looks in the page. So here this is the sales order document. So this is the header part, and this is the line part. So we have two records in the sales line, and we have one record. So now if you look at the XML, so you can see these two particular sections. The same is the case with all the orders. So because of the relations, it will link the header and document type to this particular sales line, and it will display only those particular order lines. Say suppose uh, now we have for 1001 we have two lines. So suppose if I let me go to the XML port and do some changes. So here, if I don't set this particular property and run this again, and let me export this. So here what it does, for every, for every header record, it will display all the lines from all the lines from the sales line, irrespective of the document number. Like here we have 1001, but it has 1001, and it has a different 101005. So it will display all the sales line. So we need to make sure we have a proper relation between the tables when we deal with multiple tables. So now what I do, I keep the same relation here. So now we have seen how we can export. Let me do some change to import the same. It's not a big deal, but I'll just show you how we can do that. S- Before I export this, I we can set the filter here. As I said, we can add the filters here, or maybe if we want a fixed filters, what we can do here, I go to the design, I click on the sales header element, and here we have a property called request field filters. Here I can set the fields that I want to see when I run the XML port. So what I do, I fix the field number here and close this, and let me run the XML port. So here we have this uh, number field, so that you don't need to add the filter and again select the fields here. Now let me give a filter. I am I'm going to set 1001 in the filter, so that I can export one particular record. So here I name the file as sales data. Okay, so here I have exported one record from the sales order. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to edit this with some changes so that I can import this new uh, new order. So I'm just changing the order number from the header and document number from the lines. So let me close this and try to import this. General posting group have a value in item 1000. Okay, I think I have done something wrong here. Document number new, and here we have document number new. Okay, let me import it again. See what is error here. Okay. So actually, what it does when we import, it checks, it does the validation in the fields. Like here, I have selected some fields, and what it does, it will check the validations and it will check the setup. So I think there is some setup missing. So in order to avoid this error, what we can do here, maybe we can select the field elements and we can say the field validate to no, so that it will not validate the table fields. So this is not a good practice, but just to import, I'm just doing it no. So let me not validate anything. Just making it no to every field. And let me try to import this. So now if you look at so we have this new record inserted. So that's how we can import the XML file which has more than one table. Okay, any questions? Okay. So we have seen how we can do this with the XML format. Like as I said, we can use here. We have an option to choose what kind of file we are going to handle. But here, when it comes to multiple tables, we cannot use this particular text files, because when we say text file, it is a flat structure. Flat structure in the sense we cannot indent a table in the table, like we cannot do a nested we cannot give a nested relation here. So for that, we have something called we use files, and in the report we use files, and we read the text file and we do the import. So that thing maybe in the next session, we not in the next session, I can say. In the advanced topic, we maybe someone will cover that, how we can read the text files using the file variable. So when it comes to multiple tables, it's always good to use the XML format. Okay. And now so here the XML code we can run directly until now we have seen how we can run this. Like here, I'm selecting this particular XML code and I click on run. But we have other options, like this particular sales XML sales export sales data can be attached to any particular page. Let me see how we can do. Okay, so here we have this. Now I click on page, and now I open this sales order page. So I go to the last row, and then I click on view and page actions here. So now I go to the top. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to attach that XML code to this particular page. So I click F3 here. So F3 is to create a new record, new row. So here what I do, I name this particular action as import sales data, and then I click on the properties, and then here we can type in the XML port number. Sorry, it is 50,005. So here once I set this particular XML port, and then I save this particular sales order page and try to run this and see where it has attached. is the name that I have given here? So let me see what name I have given. So I go to the last last row, and then I go to the page actions, and now here I click on the properties. So let me give a name and caption. Okay, so here it will be under order. So this particular action I have added under order group. So let me check under that. Let me run this. So now we have order here. Import. Okay, so here it is. So if I click on this, and from here you can access the same XML port and do this import. So as I said, as the record is already exists in the database, so it gives the error. So maybe to avoid that, we can set that property, that this property has to be auto update should be yes, so that it will modify the record. So the same we have to do for the sales line, and here auto save should be yes, auto update should be yes, so that it will try to modify the that particular record. So here I import, and then I choose the sales data, so that will get imported to that particular this particular table. So that's how we can attach the XML ports to the pages, and we can, or either we can run it directly from the object designer. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so now let's move to the next topic called streams. So XML ports support streams. So what is a stream? Like a stream is a sequence of data that transfers from source to destination. Like let me explain it this way. Like we have an application like NAV, and I can say, as I said, it's a sequence of data, or maybe we can say a sequence of bytes. So with 1 0, so usually in a binary format, and here suppose we have file. Okay, okay, so here we have NAV, and here we have file. This you can say this as a source, and this can be a destination. So the destination can be a file, or it can be a memory, or it can be a different stream object, .NET object, .NET variable we can say, or it can be any storage device. So what this stream does, it will read the data from the application, and it will write it to the file. So basically it is used to read or write into the media in the sense it can be a file, or it can be any storage device. So now let's see how it does. So what it does here, the stream, whatever data we have in NAV, it will read from the XML port, and it will keep it in the stream, and the same stream is used here to write into the file in our example. So now let me use a code unit to explain this. I'll just create a code unit. So already I have code. Let me copy this and explain you. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a variable with name XML file, and here I choose data type as record, and here we have a table called file. This is a virtual table. You'll not be able to see this in Object Designer. So XML file. Now I'll use this. So here what I'm going to do, I have to give the path to create the file, and here I'm going to give item export item data. So now I click on the view and I go to the cal globals and I create variable stream variables here. So we have a data type called stream in stream out. In stream and outstream, in our example we are going to export, so I use outstream, sorry. So I give a name as o stream. I just copy this and I save it here. So here I'm going to use the XML port. Let's see which XML port we can use. So this item is XML and this is export. So let me use this name here, and here I'm going to use ostream, and now I save this in 9999 like series. Sorry. Run export item data. So yeah, I have chosen a wrong one. This should not be a record, this should be a file. We have a data type of files, so I have selected file here, and then now let me save this. I should give this name in double quote. Okay, so let me open the code unit here now. So here what it does, when this first line will create a file in my in the path I've given. Like for this we have used the data type file. So this will create a file in this particular path with name export item data.xml. So once this is created, we need to link this particular document to the stream. So for that, I have used this create out stream. So what it does, it will attach this particular stream to this particular file. So now this is attached to this particular file. Now what I'm going to do, here we have XML port dot export. So this what it does, this it will run this particular XML port, and whatever data comes from this particular XML port will store in this particular stream. So as the stream is attached to this particular file, it will write this the data from the stream to this particular file, and I'm just closing the file. Okay. So now let's see what it does. Here I don't have export item data here. I think I don't have. Okay, let me run this. Okay. So you can see here one file got generated with some data here. Okay. So that's how we can use the streams. So streams basically we use to directly read the data from the memory instead of knowing the source and destination. Whether it can be a file, whether it can be .NET variable, whether it can be a different storage device. So we don't need to bother the destination, and we just keep the data in these particular streams, and we read and write the data using the streams. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's all about the XML ports. So before I move to the code units, let me summarize the XML ports. So basically, we use XML ports to export and import data in different formats, as you all have seen until now. The XML port supports XML format and text formats, and these XML ports are used to export and import data between the systems, or maybe it can be within the system. Like we have NAV here. So suppose you all know we have one database, like we are using SQL. In one database, we can have multiple companies. Now here you can see the company name here. Here we have two companies here, so you can create n number of companies. So every company will have its own data. So it's like we call it as a company specific data. So like now I'm in Cronus company, Sweden company. So here I have created, so suppose I have one item here, like 1000. So this item I want to transfer it to the other company. So suppose now we have here Kronos India. So I want to transfer this particular. So we can use the same XML port. Here we can use this XML port to export from one company, and the same XML port to import into the different company. So that's how we use this XML ports. So let's move to the next topic called code units. So does anyone have knowledge on .NET among you? Hello? Sorry? Okay. Okay, then it will be easier for me to explain. Okay. Okay. So code units, it's like a class. I can say it's like a class. In class, what we do, we define variables and functions, right? So the same way in code unit we can define. Let me create a code unit, new code unit. So here we can define functions, or maybe we can define a variable. So it's, I cannot say it's same as a class, but it's almost like a class. So so what all we can do in the code units, and I think by now you all must be aware of all the objects in NAV. In every object, if you see, we have table, page, report. So in every object apart from menu suite, we can write the code. So if we can write the code in all the objects, then why they have come up with the code unit? So like if we keep on writing the functions in every object, like I have one function called sum, and if I define that function in say suppose I want to use that in an item table, and the same function I want to use it in a sales line. So instead of creating the same functions in multiple objects, we can define that particular function in code unit, and we can call this function from all the objects that are required. So by this, the application can be easily managed because we have all the code in one place. So that will be easier to manage, and to avoid the redundancy, they have come up with the code units. So here let's see what all we can do. As I said, we can create variables. Here we have text constant, and here we have functions. Now let me create some functions, like I'll create some simple functions to make you understand. like set data, and I'm creating get data. So in the set data, I'm going to create one. I'm using the shortcuts, so I think I forgot. So here I click on the view and I go to the cal globals. So for this we have shortcuts even. Control Alt B. So you learn it when you start working. So here I'm going to define a variable called data, and that is of type text. What is the time? Okay. So this particular data I'm going to set here in this function, and sorry, let me create this of type integer, so that should be better. I'll make it int data, and now I close this, and I what I do here, I increment this with 1, and here I'm going to exit this particular variable here. So if I do this and I try to compile, it will give me an error saying you need to set the return parameter here. See, I have defined the function here, but I have not set the return parameter, and I'm doing exit here. So for that you have to click on this and go to the cal locals, and here we have written. So for every function we have parameters, we have return value, we have variables, we have text. I think this you have already come across. So let me define the return type here of type integer, and now I save this at 99 code unit 2. I'll name it. I'll It's already there. So so now I have created two functions. So one function will increment the int data, and the other function will exit this. So let's see how these two functions can be used outside this code unit. So before that, let me go to the cal globals. So and here we have functions. So functions, we can create a function as a local function, or it can be a global function. So when I say local, here we have a property. I click on this particular function and I then select this property. Here we have local. So when I set this function as local, and and then I save this. Let me create one more code unit with 99 lakhs 99,000, and it will be code unit 1. So here what I do, to call a particular object, so here we have code unit 2. To call a particular object, we need to define a variable of type this particular code unit. So I go here, let me copy this number, go here, and then I go to the cal global. So let me give a name cu2, and here we have a data type of type code unit, and then I enter that particular code unit number. So now if you see here, this is the shortcut have used. So for the for this particular functions, you have to click on this cal symbol menu. So here we have these two functions. So here I have created two functions in this particular coordinate, but I can see only one function because the other functions I have set it to local, so it cannot be visible outside that particular code unit. Okay, so let me go to this code unit and change the property of this particular variable. So here we can define two types of functions. One is local, one is global. The same way we have variables here. Vi- Variables, of course, it cannot be accessed outside the NI. So what I can say here, in a class we can access the variables, but here in code units we cannot access these particular variables directly from other objects. So to access this particular data, like like I have created one variable here, so this cannot be accessed like a function here. We Like a function in the sense, if you look at this particular code unit, the other code unit, and see and click on this. So here I can see get data and all the functions, but I cannot see the data to access. So instead of to access that particular variables, we need to use the corresponding functions, and then we get the variables that we have defined in that particular code unit. So this is one limitation in the code unit. Let me save. I think by now I should see both the functions. Just give me a minute, I'll get my charger. Sorry. Okay. So here where I'm okay. So here I have to change this. Now I close this. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So here I can see both the functions. So let me talk about the instances of code unit. When we create, so suppose now I run this particular code unit. When I run this code unit, it will create a new instance. Okay, so now what I do, when I create a variable of this particular code unit, and when I run it for the first time, it will always create a new instance. Like here in this particular code unit I have defined a variable of code unit 2. So now when I select this and when I try to do set data here, so when I do this, it will create a new instance, which means it will have a new set of variables. New set of variables in the sense, in this particular coordinate we have int data, so that will not have any value stored. So now let me do get data here, and I'm just printing the get data here, and it's a type integer, so I have to use this particular format to see the values. So let me run this. So here I have one. So you get it what it does. So when I do set it, I can go to this particular function directly like this. Go to the definition. So it will open the function in this particular code unit. So here it is. So here what I'm doing, I'm just incrementing the value, and I have get data that is returning this particular date inform value. So let me close this. So now let me create one more instance for the same code unit. I go to the cal globe. What I'll do, I copy this and I make it as a copy here. Okay, so now when I so this as I can say, this code units are like an objects that can be assigned each other. So now what I'll do, I have created a new variable like copy. So let me assign this particular code unit to a different. Okay, so so this statement, what it does, this particular instance will get copied to the to a different instance. So when I do this, both the instance will map to the same code unit. So what it does, this whatever variables this particular instance uses, the same variables is used with this particular instance. If I don't do this, and if you see this, so when I create two different variables of type codeunit2, both will have a different instance pointing to the codeunit2. Okay, but what I did, I have assigned one to each other. So now when I message, I'll do the same here, and here I'm going to use this. So here I don't need to do set, because this in this particular instance I did set and I do the get. So here we'll have the same variables used, so here I should get the same one here. Let me run this. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so this way we will use the code unit objects. And now let's say if I don't want to use these variables, this instance variables in this particular code unit variable, so for this we can use the function called clear all. So what this clear all does, so whatever variables that is used with this instance will get cleared, and here we will not have any value that has been used here. So let me run it again. So now when I run this, we'll have a message with one here, and here we'll have a blank value as it is getting ref refreshed. So here we don't have any value because it has cleared all the values. Okay, so this is how we use the instance. And now, so here we have a property called single instance. So this is very important when we run the batch jobs. Like when I set this particular single instance to yes. So let me before that delete this. So if you can see this, let me delete this and this. So here I call this particular function and I display the data. And when you see, it is displaying 1. Okay, and again when I now the instance is closed, and when I run it again, it will use the same, it will use a different instance. So what it does, it will again display 1. If it will not, if it uses the same instance, it should be 2, right? Because here what it does, it it first time it says 1 and the next time it should be 2. But always, whenever, as I said, when you run this particular code unit, every time you run it will be a different instance. So now what happens when I use single instance to yes, and when I run this, it is 1. And again when I run this, it will use the same variable, means the old value, and it will increment that particular value. Now it will be 2. So now it will use the value 2, and then it will increment that to 3. So this will stay connected, which means it will use the same instance until we close the company and open it again. So suppose now I close this and I'll reopen this. Okay, so now let me run this. So now it should display 1, because now it will take a new instance. So now this is a different new instance. So from here again, if you run it, it will be 2. So that's how it is. So that's the difference between single instance and the normal instance, this thing. So here we have one more limitation in the code unit. I think you're getting late. Just me let me complete this one. So here in the code unit, we cannot, like in classes in the object-oriented programming, we have a concept of polymorphism. Like we can create different functions with the same name. But here, if you see in NAV, here we have in the code units, we cannot create two different functions with the same name. Like here, I cannot use get data, and the same get data cannot be used here. And if I try to save this, it says the get data is already defined. So as this is not an object oriented programming, it has this limitation. Okay, and one more thing, let me delete this too. So now what I'm doing, I'm trying to run run this particular code unit from here. I'm just showing you the different ways of running the code unit from other objects. So here we have this. I click on this cal symbol menu, or you can do F5. I'm just doing F5, but you can do this. So here we have code unit. So for every object we have this option. Like if you see page, we have report, we have everything. In every For every object we have this run. So now if you see here, I do this. So when I do this, what it does, run this and give the code unit name. Let me do this. So when I use code unit.run, it will only execute the first. It will only execute the run trigger. This particular trigger will get executed. So in order to access other functions, like here we have user defined function. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, where am I? So here, okay, to access these other functions apart from run trigger, or maybe you can say this as a function, we can to access these all functions, we have to create a variable of type this particular code unit, like as I did here. Here I have created a variable of type code unit this, and once I define this, I click on this, and here you can see all the functions you can access here. Okay, so that's how we can run the code units. The same thing, the same way we can access it from any other objects. We can use it, we can access it from the table or from the page or from the report, the same structure we use. And one thing we need to know here, you don't need to remember the syntax of the built-in functions. When you click on this here, like as I said, we have code unit, and when you say run here, and at the bottom you can see the parameters that it expects. So these by seeing this, you will know that the first parameter I have to pass number, and this is optional. It's in bracket, so this is an optional. You can pass or maybe you can leave it. So for every built-in functions, you have this facility. Okay, and here I was supposed to tell this before I start, but here we have in code unit we have only two triggers. One is documentation and one is run. So in the documentation, why we use this documentation trigger? So here we note all the changes that we do. So suppose we have standard code unit here, uh, like purchase post. From here we do all the purchase posting. This is the standard code that has been given by the Microsoft. Here so suppose I want to do some changes, like we usually do with our signature. I just have given my signature and I've done some change. So then I have to note the change here with the same signature, saying that so and so modified, uh, code added on run. So by this, when we do the upgrade to a different version, like now we have 2013 and we have a new version called 2015. So it'll be easier whoever do the upgrade. By seeing this, he knows this, it has a change in so and so place, and we need to copy and upgrade this to a new version. So that's why it's very important, when we do any change, we note all the changes in the documentation. So that is one thing here in. And run we already know. Just to start the code unit, we can here, like here we can define as many functions, and we can uh, call all these functions from this particular code. Like let me do this here. I can call all the corresponding functions here, and I can directly do code unit.run. So code unit.run will initiate this particular code unit, and all these functions that I have, that we define here, will get executed one by one. Okay. Okay. Okay, then I think it's 5:10 now. So I have one more thing called SMTP code unit that we'll see tomorrow, and there is one more topic called .NET interoperability. So I'll complete that tomorrow. So any questions so far in this code units and XML ports? Hello, can you hear me? Any questions? I think I get your voice after some seconds, I guess. So any questions, or shall I end up? Hello. Okay. Okay then. Did you get? Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. I thought I'll do it after all the sessions. Maybe I'll do it today or tomorrow. So did you get time to have a look on XML port manual? Have you gone through it? Fine. Anyway, I think you just let me know if you have any questions, or maybe you can mail me, and we'll take up from there. Okay, then we'll meet tomorrow. Yeah. Okay then. Bye bye. Bye, Lucy.